Greetings! Welcome to the Devlog for hot dogs, horseshoes, and hand grenades. We're going to start off as always with a quick sound check. Make sure your speakers aren't up too high. Wonderful. So what have we got for you this week? Well, we've got some new toys to show you, and something that I was initially doing as a test this week that grew into something more. So let's take a look at the toys first. These come in a pair, which is the M1 and M2 Carbines. This is a U.S. World War II era firearm. Fires 30 carbine. From what I was reading, in reality, in the real world, these weren't the best constructed or most loved. It was actually, before I did a bunch of research, it was a weapon that I hadn't known much about in general. But in game at least, I quite like it. It's quite poppy. The M1 carbine is just semi-auto and takes these 15-round box mags. Line up that nice sight. I do love the sight on it. Wonderful. Let's pop that out there. And then we have the far more fun to use, considering that it's fully automatic, or can be. We have the M2 carbine, which we notice the primary visual difference is that we've actually got this metal heat shield on the top. I imagine if you're running as many rounds through the M1 as you might through this, it would start smoking a good deal. Something to be aware of, while the left on the touchpad or joystick toggles us between semi and safe, to actually go from semi to full auto, we actually have to operate this fire selector up there, which pushes that forward. So let's pop in our 30-round box. Ah, much better, much better. All right to control in general. Delightful. So yeah, this is one of my new favorite toys. Oh, and one other thing I wanted to mention, when I showed off the SVT-40 last week, it was actually just using the shot sound for the AKM, as I had not gotten some beautiful sounds from Patrick yet for it. So, but I have them now. So this is what this sounds like instead. Oh, turn that off as safe. Much more appropriate to something firing a 54R that kicks that much like a mule. Wonderful. And another important thing, and this is going to be, because I'm going to be pushing a beta an hour after this devlog pushes, which is that I've made an experimental change geared specifically for front-facing users to the joystick teleport mode. Which is that before, the way it worked is that if you push the joystick in any direction to its maximum extent, you would initiate the teleport ray. But a bunch of folks have asked, especially because it's present in some other games, to be able to have it be such that if you push it forward, you'll initiate that teleport ray, and you can then rotate it however you want. But if you push the joystick from center to the left or the right, you'll snap turn. So that is now the case. So I can snap turn like this. You can't hold it down. You have to essentially let the joystick recenter. That way you can tap it rapidly to the left or to the right to make your rapid changes. While still pressing forward, still initiates your teleport ray, and you can rotate it around as normal. Boop. There you go. So hopefully that should help those of you out who are in a front-facing configuration and want to be able to turn without having to also change your lateral location. Cool, so let's, now that we've taken a look at the toys and the new locomotion experiment there, let's jump into what was initially just a test scene. All right, we are in our new scene. Welcome to Take and Hold. This whole scene was originally a performance test that I was doing. Some of you who have been on the subreddit have seen some screenshots of these new tiles that have been added to the sort of prior existing modular tiles that I used in the mini arena. And but it was one of those things that I built the environment out over about a day and a half. It tested really, really well performance-wise. And I was like, well, rather than just throwing the configurable bot spawner in, like as in the mini arena, seeing as you already have a space to play like that, I figured I would just sort of like jam out in a little over a day a new mode for you to play. So this is called Take and Hold, and the concept of it, my little instruction images aren't done yet, is that there will be points in the space that you will have to navigate to. There'll be a reticle on the ground, I'll show you in a moment, capture, and then hold from the enemy for a certain amount of time, and then repeat. Loot's procedurally sort of added into the level, similar to Meat Grinder, except it's a new loot point occurs after each capture point. So let's go ahead and just give this a shot on our standard mode. Just, in terms of this is a little difficult. In terms of player health, you can be at human, which is basically like 2 shots to the body, 1 to the head, and you're done. Meaty, which is about 10,000 health points. If I look up, it's a little bright in here, so it's hard to see. Let me put it up against there, but you can see we have our health bar here. That's what meaty is. And then extra beefy is just a ton of health, or for those of you who are either a little too constrained in your locomotion, so you take a lot of hits, or who just want to have an easier experience. We can change our difficulty progression, which is how much more difficult it gets in terms of like after each point that you capture, and whether you want bot bullets to move at standard speed or realistic speed. Just be aware that realistic speed on this mode is ludicrously difficult. So let's start. Alright, so we spawn at an initial supply drop, get a health meat to begin, and we get a handgun and an SMG class weapon. So I got myself a Luger, not bad but not great. It's a little limited on its ammo. It looks like we have an unsuppressed MP9. Go ahead and put that on full auto. I'm going to actually put my health meat on the side there. If we look at the ground, we've got a reticle. We have a supply point that's being pointed to, and a take and hold point. Generally want to go to the supply point first, unless you truly don't need new supplies. The supply point will swap out after each take and hold point that you take. We need to always watch ourselves as we advance, as bots don't just spawn at those points, but in various places in the level. Okay, there's some there. Gotta run past. They won't chase you out of their defense points. So generally speaking, a little stealth is a good idea. Not aggroed yet. We have another supply point. Okay, looks like, yeah, let's swap this out. Instead of going SMG, or going 9mm, I'm gonna go 45 with the UMP. A little slower fire rate, but I actually like that.
I don't have hands.
Cool. Now let's advance. Let's take a control point. Nice direction. Not this one. It's probably this one. Nope. Nope, not this one. Let's get up. And as soon as we step into the point, the hold will begin, and we'll be trapped in it. So here we go. Let's find the most defensible point. Stand here for this one. We're down. Great. Ah, I love tracers. Keep tagging them. Whew. And there we have it. We've held the point. Drop that out. Reload. You don't have to worry about cleaning up empty mags, by the way. The system will automatically do it at the end of a, or the beginning of a take and hold point for everything that is distant from you. Cool. So I'm going to stop there and go ahead and jump out of VR and talk about sort of what else is being worked on and the future of this mode.
Yo! So we're out of VR, so I should give you first a little bit of background on that scene and how that mode that I just showed you sort of came out of nowhere. Basically, the mini arena scene was originally just a light settings and occlusion culling and performance testing environment that I sort of retrofitted into a fun gameplay scene because it was convenient to do so. And so when I recently added some more tiles to it, those sort of large hallways that you see, one of the things I wanted to do was actually test and see what performance characteristics, bake times, nav mesh generation, and oddities would arise in making a larger space than that. So that's what I had done basically on Monday and part of Tuesday, was making those new hallway tiles and then building an environment out of it. I then popped the configurable bot spawner in and basically realized that the way that just sort of like randomly adding bots into the environment and having them path to random places didn't actually work super well in a large environment. Because it's just too sparse. You basically would only ever run into like one bot at a time, or you'd be constantly mobbed if you turned up the auto spawn frequency too high. It wasn't fun even really to test with, and I wanted to substantively test an environment of this scale and all of the different, as I said, issues that can arise with it. And so it was around that idea, chatting on the H3 Discord, which, by the way, if you hang out on Discord and want to chat about the game and such, we do have one. Just pop over to the subreddit, and there should be a link to it in the upper left. It is open. So what was I saying? Oh, yeah. So I was chatting with a couple folk on the Discord there, talking about things that they would enjoy doing in a space. Like what I was doing, and someone had brought up the idea of having it doing a sort of like capture point-ish type mode. And so I basically just game jammed out in about 2 days or so a mode which, as you just saw, you move from point to point. As the difficulty goes up, the quality of equipment you get goes up, and it's just a go as long as you can go kind of mode. There's a couple other things I'd love to sort of add to it in terms of like enemy variety, and it will continue to be a sort of like a testing platform as I improve the bot's behavior. I've got a couple things on my to-do list in terms of making them smarter and more interesting. Things like sort of like micro juking and dodging when they know they're being aimed at, throwing grenades to flush you, things, nasty things like that. Are all on the eventual docket, but I'll basically be testing them in that scene in mode first. So, with that, so there is going to be a push just to the beta branch tonight. This is not a full update. A few things are still a little unstable, but the last 4 World War II weapons that I've shown you, the STG, the SVT-40, and the M1 and M2 carbines that I showed you today, are in there. They are not in the item spawner yet. They are just in the indoor range scene and this new mode. They can show up as part of the spawn pool, so let that be an encouragement to those of you on the beta branch to try the new mode out and tell me what you think. And I'm especially curious to hear how it works with various locomotion modes, because obviously being able to turn 360 in that back and forth is a huge advantage. Otherwise, you have to sort of pocket yourself more in a corner, so it can be difficult. So I look forward to hearing back from you folks. And if it's still a little super jank or a little unusual, or there are capture points in it that aren't too great, remember it was made in 2 days. So with that, I think I will leave you now. And what I'm probably going to do is actually post in the next couple days, early next week, a little like tips and tricks video for playing that mode. If those of you try it out find it a little too difficult. I've definitely found some strategies work better than others for staying alive. Whew, so that is about it. I think I'll probably just leave you now with one more run of me playing through it. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. Remember, the beta will push at 7 p.m. PST, or an hour after this video goes live. Peace.
What do we got here? Oh, an MP9 again. I love this one. Really gotta fix it. It's a little difficult to reload. I know a bunch of H3 guns are like that. Put that there. At least we got G22. Always a fan. Alright, let's see what the other capture point has. Oop. Oh shoot, that's the capture point. We don't want to go that way. Why risk engagement when you don't have to? Oh! Have a nice day. That, yeah, I think I'd rather run with the carbine here. It's just so good.
I'm sure someone's around here.
It's the semi-auto one. Let's grab our spare health and put it on our shoulder.
What was that? What was that?
Here we go. Can't remember what direction they come from for this one. Oh, definitely that direction. As I mentioned, for the first point, it lays pretty high. Make sure it gives you a chance. The first rev of this, it started out way too hard at the beginning. It's up there. Oh, that almost gave me a heart attack. Looking away at the wrong time. And survived. Alright, only took about 15% of our health. Minimize damage. Supply points that way. We're clear. Supply point might be down here.
Take that.
Put that over our shoulder. Whoop! Crap! Crap. Just gotta be vigilant. Let's see. Got a spas. Really, game? Gonna make me decide on whether to stick with a carbine or a bullpup? Yeah, it's 30 rounds. We should do it. Even though she's a pain to load. Oh, I even. Alright. Yeah, you know what? We don't need the Glock at this point. Cool. Onward. Great workout this game is. If you're an arm swinger, you're a fatty like me. Points this way. Oh.
Really need to get an oil change.
Here's some bots. Crap!
That's odd.
Oh, what am I doing? Man, didn't even charge the gun. Shows you how much I use this. Seriously, Great Britain. Why? Be what we would call screwing up.
They're falling back.
And he got me. That was pathetic. Gotta fix that bot spawning issue though. In the red room, they are not advancing as they should be. Anywho, that's enough for now. I'll record more gameplay of this mode later when I have it more polished and have more stuff in it. Peace.